Okay, hello Bio. This video is going to be the last one for section 1, and it's going to focus on how prokaryotes can grow and reproduce, and it's also going to focus on how we as humans can use bacteria. So to get started, there are three main ways that prokaryotes reproduce. First one being is that most reproduce by what is known as binary fission. Some also will take place in what is known as conjugation, while others produce spores. So we're going to take a look at each one of those. So in binary fission, it is a type of asexual reproduction, so that means that they don't need a partner to do it, they just do it on their own, in which an organism replicates its DNA and then divides in half, producing two identical daughter cells. So binary fission is just kind of a fancy way to say it basically splits itself in half, and then they have two identical copies to what they had before. And here's a picture of what that binary fission would look like. Again, we have two identical cells. And again, that just started off as one, and it decided to basically copy all of its DNA, all the important internal organelles that it might have, and then split off. So that's what binary fission would be. So the next one is conjugation, and during this process, a hollow bridge will form between two bacterial cells, and the genes will move from one cell to the other. So this transfer of genetic information increases genetic diversity and populations of bacteria. So it's basically a bridge forming between the two, as we'll look in this picture right here, as you can see. And now in this little pink line that's going through there, they're actually passing their genetic information to one another in order to reproduce and in order to kind of make more genetically diverse bacteria. And the last way is spore formation. So bacteria will do this when unfavorable growth conditions occur. So whenever let's say they run out of water, they might form a spore to help themselves survive. And then kind of a specific spore that's kind of just found in bacteria is known as an endospore, right here. And this forms when bacterium produce a thick internal wall that will enclose its DNA and some of its cytoplasm. So an endospore is just going to protect the most important parts of the bacteria. And some of these spores can remain dormant, which means they're alive, but they're not really growing, they're just kind of surviving for either months or years, and this will allow them to survive some very harsh conditions. So that's how they can grow or reproduce. And if we can look here in this picture, it shows us what the spores actually look like. Again, those are not the actual colors, that's just kind of what they look like if they get dyed. So that's what the spores look like. And so the last part of this section is going to be the importance of bacteria, kind of how humans use them and how they're important to other parts of the living world. So there's three big things that they have here, that some are going to be producers that capture energy by photosynthesis, so some will actually help us make energy. Others are decomposers that break down the nutrients in dead matter, so they're the reason why we don't have just dead carcasses piling up all over the place and dead trees, because they actually come in and they break them down. And so other bacteria will have human uses. So we're going to take a look at each one of these. So their first role is a decomposer, showing that they recycle nutrients and they maintain equilibrium in the environment. So again, what that means is they basically keep too much dead stuff from piling up. That actually, again, they prevent just a big massive pileup of dead things. And they also help treat in the treatment of sewage, again, that could all just pile up if we didn't have bacteria there to help us break it down. The next one, this is kind of an interesting one. They're known as nitrogen fixers. So what this means is that plants, they need nitrogen gas to be changed chemically to ammonia or other nitrogen compounds which certain bacteria produce. So there's a lot of nitrogen in our air, and plants cannot use that nitrogen. They need it to be changed to some other form so they can use it. And so the process of converting this nitrogen gas into a form that plants can use is known as nitrogen fixation. And so many plants, they kind of just have lived alongside these bacteria, so they have formed symbiotic relationships with nitrogen-fixing bacteria, and that just means a relationship in which both parties benefit. So the plants help out the bacteria help out the plants. It's just a win-win situation for everyone. And then there are also some human uses of bacteria. We depend on bacteria for many things, and we're going to take a look at some of these things in our activity in class. They include things like making foods and beverages. They help us remove waste and poisons from water. They help us mine minerals from the ground. They actually help us make drugs and chemicals via genetic engineering. and actually produce vitamins in our intestines. So they do a lot for us that we might not know or might take for granted. They usually just get a bad rap for causing diseases, but that's not all they do. So that's it for this video. Let me know if you have any questions.